We're at a point where markets are at all-time highs. Any kind of ratio is screaming that we're at the top of our cycle. We have companies that are failing, even now starting in China. And what happens is that all of this money will have to exit the financial market, where there's huge amounts of money now, way more money digitally in these assets than exists in the pockets of every single person in the world, right? So this money, what tends to happen when there's a top in the market and the market is going to drop, of course there's loss of value. So all of these investors, they need to get their money out, right? They always do that because they don't want to lose money. Their job and their mandate towards their clients is to bring profits, right? Not losses. So they're going to get their money out of the financial markets. This, of course, will lead to an even sharper drop, but this is standard. It happens at every cycle. Now, what tends to happen though is that most investors at that point will get into bonds, which are government obligations. And these have interest rates that are paid by the government, but these interest rates follow the interest rates that are set by the central bank, right? So nowadays, a lot of these bonds are negative yielding, which means that if me as an investor, I want to have a certain return per year, even call it 1%, today if I buy a bond, a European bond, I will not have that because it's at a negative interest rate. So in fact, it costs me to buy this bond, which until now was a secure position for my money, but would at least bring me some returns. Now even this fact isn't there, right? So in a scenario where the money is pulled out, it cannot go to bonds because it is not logical for it to be there, because there's just this trust that is gone from this value that governments used to be able to hold in the long term. With this being gone, this money, where is it going to go, right? It can go into gold, but gold, we've just seen, can be controlled by government, has been controlled by government, and in the past 10 years hasn't increased in price. It's at the same price as 10 years ago, right? So it's sure some money will go into gold because it's a typical kind of protection asset, and money will transfer into gold. But there is this entire new financial market that is being built at the same time, that is led by Bitcoin, but all of these other cryptocurrencies as well. Bitcoin is the first time ever in history of finance that an asset reaches this level of valuation so quickly. On top of that, it is the technology that is the most quickly adopted in the world. So before that, it was the internet that was adopted. We've never seen anything adopted so fast in terms of adoption of technological progress. Right now, the world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is accelerating at a faster rate than the internet, which I think makes sense because it speaks to so many people, particularly younger generations, rather than the people that are in power that are of older generations. And so this market of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and I want to really emphasize Bitcoin here, because Bitcoin is the safe one that has all of these applications that are being built by other cryptocurrencies, now also built on the Bitcoin network, meaning that for all of these funds that have serious money and long-term objectives, buying Bitcoin is one of the best trades that they can have. And given the volatility that it has and the hedging options that they can have, represents a lower risk for them than the traditional assets that they're used to. So this is why I think, and I'm not the only one in thinking so, Bitcoin will be the black hole that will swallow a big part of all of this money that will be escaping the traditional markets, because there will just be no more value there. No other asset like this one has ever existed before, that marries our technological progress with our financial systems. It is time for people to have a currency that is as open and anonymous as the internet. With Bitcoin, the control of money is taken away from governments and given back to the people. This removes huge power from governments and their leaders that have had countless issues with corruption, abuse of power, or limiting our freedom. We've seen that our financial system needs a reset, and the only solution governments have is to print trillions more, devaluating our currencies in the process. Along the way, they will continue to make people more dependent on government because welfare spending has to increase to cover their irresponsible money management.